Gilly, could you just run through the reason for retaining Chief and also just on a one-year deal with the option for a further season?
Yeah, so we spent a bit of time over the last couple of months sort of reviewing things, talking a lot with Chief around potential areas that didn't really work this year and what we needed to do to improve. I think one of the big things we took out of all of it was Chief's grown as a coach. He had a fantastic year last year. He played an amazing support role in the 4 years prior to that with Uwhi, under some pretty trying circumstances. And sometimes you learn a lot out of the adversity, particularly the season we've had this year. Everyone's disappointed we didn't make playoffs and couldn't back up last year. So we decided to back him. He's got good experience. He's taken the club to second last year, and he's taken a lot of learnings out of this year, and we feel like he's the right guy to take us forward.
Is top six a minimum requirement for next season?
Look, that's always an aspiration for the club to be in the top six. You always want to be in playoffs.
And in terms of retention of players, a couple of games to go, does it help that you've made this decision now rather than wait till the off season?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone needs the clarity on who their coach is, and then now we can go into retention, recruitment discussions with people knowing exactly who's at the top and who they're going to be working for.
A big one of contract is Costa.
Yes.
I know when he re-signed, he had like an option for another year. Can you just sort of explain, is that just as simple as the club can re-sign him if you want him, and how important he would be going forward? Yeah,
look, so Costa's contract was a little bit complex when we did it 12 months ago. So there is an option in there for Costa. So now we just need to sit with Costa and we work through, whether Wellington Phoenix is where he wants to call home for the next 12 months.
Do you still hope that it is?
Oh, of course. I mean, Costa is Costa Barbarouses, right? He's been an incredible import in the A-League for other clubs. He's won the title numerous times. He's played a number of games for the All Whites. He's a Wellington boy, so he's a fan favourite and he's an experienced A-League player. Any club would want that.
Was the playing group or leadership group within the players consulted over the next steps for a head coach?
No. That's a decision to be made by the football committee and the chairman.
And you've referenced, obviously, Chiefy's previous seasons. Does that mean his job was kind of safe this season regardless?
Safe regardless. I don't think anyone's job is ever safe in professional sport, particularly head coaches, right? You're always judged on your results. But for us, you have to look a little bit beyond those as well, and you have to look at context and what the coach has also done before, and what, as I said, what learnings can come out of that. And we feel like he's the right guy to take us forward.
What's the main difference, I guess, with him and Paul's situation with the women's team that sort of led you to these two separate decisions?
Yeah, look, I think we alluded to it last week or whenever it was we discussed Paul. Yeah, the expectation on the ALeague women's program is a lot higher as far as playoffs. Particularly, you have to look at it across the spend relative to what other clubs are spending within ALeague women's program and ALeague men's program. And for us, the investment that we put into the ALeague women's program was such that top six was really a must this season.
Was there ever a point, I guess, where you guys as a club thought this season that Chief may not be the right person to move on with?
No, I don't think so. I think we just had good, open, robust conversation, particularly over the last couple of months around what needed to happen to get it back to where it was last year. And as I say, we were confident through those discussions that he's the guy.
And was it a case of you guys offered him something, he had a bit of time to think about it, and then came back, or was it sort of as soon as you offered it, he was like, yeah, let's go?
Look, there's been discussions ongoing for a number of months now, and luckily, unfortunately, this week we were able to tie it all up.
How do you guys, I guess, back him up, or how do you make sure he and the team keep improving next season? What's your role, I guess, for him?
My role for him?
To help him?
Yeah, look, it's part of what we've sort of looked at is some of our processes and some of our systems. How we can support further. What we need to do to potentially look at issues and stamp them out quickly. So there's a number of things we're working on in the background that we will put together. Recruitment is obviously a key one. Recruitment of visa players is a key one. So that's going to be a big focus of ours, and potentially some more systems and processes around that to get back to where we have been previously with visa recruitment.
Yeah, visa recruitment, I guess. Is it something that, I guess, you got wrong this year, or something that you're just learning how to get better next season?
Did we get it wrong? I wouldn't say we got it wrong. I think, Chief alluded to it there. There is a budget, right? And there's not an endless supply of cash. And we're always very grateful for the owners for what they do invest into the football club and what they have done for so long for New Zealand football, really. So there's a cap on what you can spend. And some seasons you have a pot of money that is high for visa players, and other seasons you have a pot that's maybe not as big, right? So in terms of the recruitment of those visa players with the pot of money that we had, we thought it was good. Ultimately, did it work out? That's probably more an issue around player availability, players playing in certain positions, not having probably the ideal starting 11 on the pitch enough during the season.
I guess when you look at the results of last year and this year from Chiefy, the fans' frustration, I guess, is how can the results be so different, and is it just come down to injuries and I guess a lack of having the same squad? Do you believe that was the only difference between the two seasons?
Look, in sport, I firmly believe there's a bit of a rub of the green as well. We were winning games last year where we were scoring late goals, AP saved penalties, so there's a fine line between winning it and losing it sometimes, and this year we've probably been more on the other side, we have been more on the other side of the fine line of losing games. But then also when you start having the injuries and player availability issues then you potentially have to play different formations that you might not want to play, but that becomes a little bit more defensive, makes it harder to get out, so there's a myriad of factors that go into that.
Providing you keep, no one leaves in this off-season, are you confident that you have the squad right now with no more additions to make playoffs next year?
Well, we do have some spots available. As it stands now, it's well publicised again that there's a couple of players leaving. One of those is a visa player, so we will have 2 visa spots. One of those might be filled by Chico again. That's for discussion to come. So there's enough there that if we had the same squad, we have some ability to bring some more players in. Visa players do tend to get better in the second year, so once we are able to bring in another 2 visa players and we have the players we have, get the balance right for the squad, then I think definitely we can be better. The other thing we do have now too is you've got players like Hughesy who've had another 20 odd games in the ALeague. Corbin Piper, if we're able to re-sign him as well, has had good exposure now. Matt Sheridan's another one who's had a lot of football. So if you sort of think back to last year with the likes of Ben Old and Finn Sermon and AP, we now have a group of kids that are 12 months on, right? So we feel like with that jump, with a bit more recruitment, we can top 6 should be definite goal.
Does this season's lack of success hurt more given what Auckland's doing?
Yes, of course it does.
With the World Cup next year, how much does that work in your favour in terms of recruitment and retention? Does that change the dynamic? I guess Costas is a good example. He wanted to be in that World Cup squad. Can you show to him that you've done well here these last 2 years? This is your best chance of going.
Look, it's, I can't jump inside the head of players, right? You never know what they're thinking, but I guess when we look at re-signing Tim Payne earlier in the year for 3 years, that was a key factor for him, right? Was, he's settled, he's playing well, he's in the All Whites, he's regular fullback for them. So I think there, you'd have to say there is some value in that, and having that consistency, knowing the environment, and not upsetting the apple cart in a season that's a big one for these players. So, surely it will weigh into their decision making, I would think.
And you keen for Corbin to stay?
Are we keen for Corbin to stay? Yeah, I think Corbin's had an outstanding season. It's his first one as a professional footballer. He's popped up with some big goals, popped up with, can play anywhere on the park. So, for an A-League squad, he's a no-brainer, and we'd love to try and retain him if we can.
And so with Chico, is the plan that, if you can make a deal happen there, that could be the priority?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he showed in the few games he had that he's a quality footballer. yeah, we just have to make sure that his body's right. So we're going through that process at the moment with the medical team. And then, if the body is going to be right, hopefully we can do a deal again.
Have you had any discussions yet with his parent club?
Not so much with the parent club yet, but there has been discussions with Chico. Chiefy and him talk regularly, and he loves it here and would love to stay.
And how do you reflect on the Marco Rojas signing?
I think ultimately we all wanted a fairy tale. We all wanted to bring Marco back to the Wellington Phoenix and hope that we would get, Marco Rojas, that has been an incredible player in the A-League. Unfortunately, his body wasn't able to get through this season for us, so ultimately it's a major disappointment for him, for us, and for the fans. Would we do it again? That's a quality footballer. You can't crystal ball gaze and see the season that unfolded. So at the time it was the right call.